ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له وما يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وأحسن هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. As we begin Friday, or this night of Jumu'ah, or actually on the Gregorian, the Hijri calendar, today is Saturday night. But in the Gregorian calendar, they still say it's Friday, October the 19th, 2018, 6:57 p.m., which correlates directly on the Hijri calendar, which is now the 9th of Safar. The 9th of Safar, which is Aam 1440, 1440 after the migration of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. In actuality, like we said, in regards to the Islamic calendar, this is Saturday night. But as far as what is in the Gregorian calendar with the non-Muslims, they still think this is Jumu'ah. But like we said, on Friday night, as far as in accordance with the Gregorian calendar, then it's Friday. But in the Islamic calendar, what we truly follow, it is Saturday night, which is now the 9th of Safar, 1440, after the hijrah, the migration of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We said, Ya Ma'ashar al-Ikhwa, as we return back to where we left off, where we stopped. We stopped at the hadith, which is still in the chapter, which the great Imam al-Shaykh Muhammad ibn Abdul Wahhab rahimahullah put in the chapter describing the malaika, a description of the angels and their fear and their horror, and how they also likewise, that they are affected to the point where they pass out. As it says, that they're affected to the point, أَنَّهُمْ يُسْعَقُونَ, that the angels also likewise fall out unconscious when they hear the wahi or the revelation of Allah Ta'ala. And we talked about how the different firaq or the different deviant sects that have deviated in this matter, which is considered very strange. As you'll find that the aqeedah of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah, the creed of Ahl Sunnah wal Jama'ah is clear. In regards to all those other deviant sects that believe in contrast to what they believe, then it is very confusing and it is very disturbing. And also likewise, we said it causes doubt in the individual of a person who believes these type of corruptive beliefs and convictions and ideologies. We started on the hadith of Nawas ibn Sam'an radiyallahu an, and we said that the message of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam mentioned and said, إِذَا أَرَادَ اللَّهُ تَعَالَى أَن يُوحِيَ بِالْأَمْرِ تَكَلَّمَ بِالْوَحْيِ. On the authority of Nawas ibn Sam'an. You know where we are now? Hadith Nawas ibn Sam'an radiyallahu an, which says that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, if He wants to reveal an affair, He speaks. If He wants to reveal an affair, He speaks. Bil wahi. He speaks with revelation. أخذت السماوات منه رجفة أو رعتة شديدة. He said that the heavens, that it takes them or succumbs, the heavens and likewise the inhabitants of the heavens, a tremendous rajfa, meaning a quake or a shake, a rajfa. it takes them a what? A quiver or a shake. A very severe shake or quiver out of fear of Allah. So it's not only the heavens, but the inhabitants of the heavens. Who are the inhabitants of the heavens? They are the malaika. You could tell him to play back there, Jamar. You could go back there against the wall right there. At least it's like a sound. He can still play. You just be right there. You can monitor him. I could look at him. Just right there. You could just put him right there. Or put him right on the sides, right here. You don't have to tell him to be quiet. But I remember last time we sat him over there, it was more low, his noise. You don't have to be quiet, but well, the whole idea is to try to not hear the noise. If you put him there, we can still hear it. Yeah, remember you put him by the wall in the back or right on the side. He could play. There's nothing wrong. We're just trying to just keep the noise down so we can focus. That's all. I'm not going to tell a child to be silent for 45 minutes. That's impossible. Be right there, so he could be monitored. If you put him behind the wall, you can't see him. Yeah, that's cool. Type. What was I saying? No, the malaika that overtakes them a quiver or shake. They are the inhabitants of the heavens. The inhabitants of the heavens are the malaika. So it says that the quiver or the heavens that they shake. أخذت الملأ السماوات رجفة. So it's not just the heavens themselves, as we believe that the heavens likewise. That we know that the earth can speak, and likewise the heavens can talk. And that's an ayah in the book of Allah Ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in his book, فَقَالَتَا لِلْأَرْضِ ثُمَّ اسْتَوَى إِلَى السَّمَاءِ وَهِيَ دُخَانٌ فَقَالَ لَهَا وَلِلْأَرْضِ ائْتِيَا طَوْعًا أَوْ كَرْهًا قَالَتَا أَتَيْنَا طَائِعِينَ. So Allah Ta'ala says in his book, He says, then he ascended above the heavens. After Allah Ta'ala created the heavens and the earth and everything between them, it says, ثُمَّ اسْتَوَى إِلَى السَّمَاءِ وَهِيَ دُخَانٌ فَقَالَ لَهَا وَلِلْأَرْضِ ائْتِيَا طَوْعًا أَوْ كَرْهًا قَالَتَا أَتَيْنَا طَائِعِينَ. Allah Ta'ala says in his book, He says that when He ascended above the heavens, after He created the heavens and the earth, He says, and they were smoke. So ayah in the book of Allah, وَهِيَ دُخَانٌ. So Allah said, come, قَالَتَا ثُمَّ قَالَ لَهَا الْأَرْضِ ائْتِيَا طَوْعًا أَوْ كَرْهًا. So Allah Ta'ala addressed the heavens and the earth. It says in the book, it says in the ayah, excuse me. فَقَالَ لَهَا وَلِلْأَرْضِ ائْتِيَا طَوْعًا أَوْ كَرْهًا. He says, come either being devoutly obedient or by force. Notice Allah Ta'ala says, قَالَتَا. The heavens and the earth said, we come devoted, meaning obedient. We come in the state where we'll be obedient. So notice Allah says, قَالَتَا. The heavens and the earth spoke. So we say, Ya ma'ash al-ikhwa, that Allah Ta'ala, not only the heavens have ihsas, as we'll talk about inshaAllah, that the heavens and the earth have some type of sense, where everything glorifies Allah Ta'ala, without any exception. These walls, everything glorifies Allah. Everything. From the heavens, the earth, everything around us, there's no exception. Everything around us glorifies Allah Ta'ala. The stones, the rocks, the trees, the animals, your skin, your body, everything. The animals, everything in the heavens and the earth glorifies Allah. Everything. Everything glorifies, meaning they make tasbih, meaning they glorify Him, Ta'ala. They glorify Him by saying Subhanallah. They make tasbih. For any rate, we'll talk about that in a minute. I know it's a lot of kids these days like biting their fingernails. So we say, regards what we say, the heavens that they have an ihsas. So not only do the heavens that they quiver and shake, Also likewise, the inhabitants of the heavens likewise are what? Are affected. Whereas they fall out unconscious. It says for yusa'aqun. And we know that the word sa'q or su'uq is a state in where a person falls out unconscious. Because we know on the day of resurrection, when the trumpet, in the last days of this earth, on the days of earth, when the day of resurrection is about to be established, notice Allah with the alif that said, فَنُفِخَ فِي الصُّورِ فَصَاعِقَ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَصَاعِقَ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ إِلَّا مَنْ شَاءَ اللَّهِ. He says, when the trumpet is blown, فَصَاعِقَ مَنْ فِي السَّمَاوَاتِ وَمَنْ فِي الْأَرْضِ. He says, everything that's in the heavens and the earth will fall out unconscious. So the angels likewise have been described as yusa'aqun, meaning they are also in the state of unconsciousness when they hear the wahy of Allah, tabaraka wa ta'ala. When they hear the revelation of Allah, the wahy, the revelation. So it says in the hadith, if you notice, on Nawas ibn Sam'an, he says, فَسُعِقُوا. Doesn't it say that in your book? They fall out in the state of unconsciousness. Does it not say that in your books, everyone? Notice it say, فَسُعِقُوا. It says say they fall out unconscious. That's not true. They dropped it out the book. I don't know why. It says فَسُعِقُوا. Mine says فَسُعِقُوا وَخَرُّوا سُجَّدًا. They fall out unconscious, or they fall out in the state of being rocked, shifted. فَسُعِقُوا. He says وَخَرُّوا سُجَّدًا. They fall out in the state of being unconscious, and then they prostrate, fall in prostration. فَيُسَعْقُونَ. If not, then they have that added, that they fall out. They fall out. It may be in a state where it's unconscious temporarily, and then they fall in prostration. But here it says فَيُسَعْقُونَ. They fall out unconscious. Then when they regain consciousness, they fall in prostration. And then the first one that raises his head is Jibreel. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? It's always around this time when we're now thinking of transition to the winter. My allergies for some reason start bothering me. But anyway, over to the fall. Once you go from the summer to the fall, our health starts. It's like your body has to adjust to the cold. At any rate. So it says that for yusa'aqun, that they fall out unconscious. It might be a state where they're unconscious temporarily. Then they regain consciousness. Then they prostrate. Because here it says clearly in my book, فَسُعِقُوا وَخَرُّوا سُجَّدًا. They fall out unconscious, then they fall in prostration. And the first one that raises his head is Jibreel. The first one that raises his head is Jibreel. So it says that, Ya Ma'ashal Ikhwa says, فَسُعِقُوا. They fall out unconscious. Then, when they regain it, they fall in prostration. Then the first one that raises his head is Jibreel. Jibreel is the first one that raises his head. And Allah Ta'ala speaks to him of revelation of what he wants. فَيُكَلِّمَهُ اللَّهُ بِمَا أَرَادَ ثُمَّ يَمُرُّ جِبْرِيلُ عَلَى الْمَلَائِكَةِ كُلَّمَا مَرَّ بِسَمَاءٍ سَأَلَهُ مَلَائِكَتُهَا ماذا قال ربنا يا جبريل فيقول جبريل قال الحق وهو العلي الكبير فيقولون كلهم مثل ما قال جبريل to the end of it. طيب. So it says that the first one that raises his head is what, everyone? Is Jibreel. And Allah speaks to him فَيُكَلِّمُهُ اللَّهُ of revelation of what he wants. Tabaraka wa ta'ala. Then Jibreel, that he passes by the angels. And every time he passes by a heaven, the angels of that heaven ask him, what did our Lord say? Jibreel will say, he said the truth, and he is the most high, and he is kabir. And we'll give the meaning of kabir. Not khabir, kabir. He's kabir. We'll talk about the meaning of it. فَيَقُولُونَ كُلُّهُمْ, and all of them would say, similar to what Jibreel said. So we say, Ya Ma'ashal Ikhwa, that the first thing we talked about last class is that we were speaking about the deviation in regards to the belief of the Asha'ira, the deviant sect called the Asha'ira, where we talked about last class that the Asha'ira believe that this type of narration is rejected. It's not acceptable. Why? Are you sharing? Are you participating? Come close. Read where we're reading at. Find our space. This knowledge that you're learning is more important than video games, basketball, your schoolwork, everything. It's more important than all of that. How do you think you should be treating it? You think we should be treating it like, who cares? This right here that relies on your survival when you die. And that can happen to you right now. So everything in this world, your basketball, your video games, all that becomes irrelevant once you're now dead. This right here is the knowledge of what's going to aid you when you're put under the dirt. It's sad, but that's the reality of a lot of our people. They treat this knowledge like it's, we got the past. I don't nobody really care about that. This knowledge is more important than your food, your drink, your video games, your basketball, and your knowledge that you learn in school every day, all together. This is at the highest level of all of them. How do you think you should be treating it? With a negligent attitude, oh, who cares? It's not that big of a deal. Oh, when we get that time, man, ain't nobody got time. Yeah. It's over. Can I go home now? That's the attitude of a lot of our people. When this knowledge, when you put under the dirt, because like I said, all of us individually will be put under the dirt by ourselves, under the dirt. Then that heavy dirt is poured over top of your body. And no one can help you now. No one. No one. Not your children, not your money, not your basketball games, not your food, not your drink, not your parents, not your sister, not your brother. You scream, you holler out, nobody can help you. No one. And that's for all of us. How old are you now, Kaden? Just examine. Huh? 13. So now he's mukallaf. He's been given the duties of practicing Islam. The angels is writing down. He's not a little kid no more. That's excused. That's done. Same thing with my son. Same thing with you. No one is an exception now. You guys are now, expect Dawood. You're not a child anymore. You have been given the duties now. You have to, and also Zakaria. You're a different story. But as far as those kids, you guys have to realize that you all are now going to be held accountable. You are accountable for what you do and what you do as far as you're performing your prayers, doing what you're supposed to do. All those things are now things that you are supposed to carry out on a daily basis. You're going to be accountable for it. It's not your father's fault. It's not no one that tells you. Once they teach you and they tell you as you're supposed to do it, you don't do it, it's off of them now. Now you're held accountable. Is it clear what I'm saying to everyone? Because it's sad, but even some of the parents, they want to treat him like they're a little kid. Oh, he's a little kid. No, he's now, Islamically, he's a man. It is what it is. No, Islamically, he's a man now. Technically. America may call him a kid, but at the end of the day, America, there's nothing to do on the day of resurrection when the law comes. All that American nonsense that we used to have, that mentality goes out the door. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Technically, all these kids in here, technically, Islamically, you're all grown men now. If you fall to certain sins, if we was in an Islamic country, you could reap the penalty of it. If you stole, or you did something to that effect. All those things you're held responsible for. And you're going to be held responsible for learning this knowledge. This knowledge, like I said right here, no one will be excused. Unless you have an excuse where you were in the furthest desert, somewhere where you couldn't receive any knowledge. That's the only time you'll probably be excused. But is that your case here? No, it isn't. That's why we keep telling our youth, especially the parents, it is upon, number one, the parents to make sure that our children are learning the proper aqidah. We will be held accountable for that. Did you allow your children to sit in the class and learn the aqidah and learn what will rectify his belief system? Brothers, focus on me. We already know Ali's situation. There's no need to look at him. Everybody already knows. There's no need, brothers. You understand what I'm saying, everyone? All of us as parents, when we have children, All of us will be held accountable whether or not we either taught our children or allowed them to be in an atmosphere where they can learn their aqeedah. We will be held accountable for that. Because like we said, these basics or these fundamentals, everybody's going to be held accountable. This is not going to be excused on the day of resurrection. Oh, I didn't know. You know. You had the opportunity, you had the masjid, you had the knowledge was facilitated. You wanted to be worldly. You wanted to be out in the dunya, going to the islands. You wanted to do certain things. That was your choice. Did you allow your children to sit in the class and learn the Aqidah book from beginning to end? Oh, abda. That's going to be excuse? Well, you know, we wanted to go to the islands, or we wanted to go here, we wanted to go there. You couldn't teach them, you couldn't allow your son or your child to sit in the class for 45 minutes, for an hour, once or twice out of a week to learn his Aqidah? These are the things we keep emphasizing the importance of, brothers and sisters. We got to check ourselves and call ourselves to account. We have to. And we keep emphasizing this. So like we said in regards to this ilm, in regards to what it says in the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, it says that the heavens and the earth, that they take or overtake them, or they succumbed, or they taken over by ri'tatun shadida, or rajfa, or quiver, or quake, out of fear. And he says that the angels su'iqu, that they fall out unconscious, and when they regain it, they fall in prostration. He says, and the first one that raises his head is Jibreel. We said that the deviant sect called the Asha'ira, they say that this narration is rejected. We don't believe in it. Why don't they believe in it, brothers and sisters? Why do we say that? We said based upon the fact that they came with principles that are extremely strange and weird. We talked about before how the majority, if not all of the deviant sects, especially from the past, from the Jahmiyyah and the Mu'tazila and the Asha'ira, that have they been affected by the ideologies of Greek philosophy. And we know Greek philosophy glorifies the intellect. They've given precedence to it over everything, to the point where they glorify the intellect to the level in the extreme where they give precedence to that over the revelation. And that the revelation just complements the intellect. But that's not the foundation that we rely upon. In contrast to what we believe, Ahlul Sunnah wa Ahlul Haqq wa Salafiyun, we give precedence to the revelation over the intellect. And the intellect, like we said, that is what so-called complements it. And even if the intellect has been made to complement, not complement the revelation, rather submit to it and bow down to it. The mind bows down to the revelation, not the opposite. The revelation doesn't bow down to the mind. That is the problem with the Asha'ira and the Maturidiyya and the deviant sects. You'll find, like we said, they glorify the mind to the point they make the revelation go around the mind. It has to agree with the mind. And if it doesn't agree with the mind, then we reject it. To the point, like we talked about, the Asha'ira even come with false principles to reject what is the correct, or what is sound and correct in accordance to the Kitaab and Sunnah. They reject it. They came with principles, like we just mentioned and said. Why did they reject this hadith that's in your book? Why? We started off last class by saying because of the principle that they came with, which is called, we don't accept khabr al-wahid or khabr al-ahad. We do not accept the news of one narrator. One narrator is rejected with us. The news of what they call khabr al-wahid or what they call khabr al-ahad, the news of one narrator delivering it or conveying it is not enough. It's not adequate. Rather, it has to be numerous. It has to be numerous or abundant of narrators in order for it to necessitate surety, as they say. Is that the aqeedah of Ahlul Sunnah or the people of the truth? We say no. Due to the fact that we know that there are so many authentic ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ where he accepted the news of one narrator in what is considered the greatest of worship in our religion, whether it be in Siyam or Ramadan. Allah of the Prophet ﷺ accepted the news of one individual from the Sahaba. So that was the indication that working by one narrator is accepted And likewise, what he said, it is from our methodology. Rather, only thing that we look at when some news is conveyed to us, because we know this hadith in your book right here is backed up by a chain of narrators. It's not showing you here, but if we went back to the reference books of where it shows you all the chains, this hadith right here is backed up by a chain of narrators. They say that one chain is not enough, it's not adequate. Ahlul Sunnah, the people of the truth, do not look at this. That was something that the Sha'ira came with from their false principles. So they can put some doubt in the Muslims not to accept this narration. Rather, it's something that's what? Speculative. It's speculative. It's speculation. When we say that it's speculation, meaning if one narrator has conveyed it, then it is subjected to doubt. Meaning, more than likely, they might have made a mistake, so-called. They say that they break down this type of principle into two types, they say. They say if it's khabr al-wahid, if it came from one narrator, it's rejected. We don't accept it. And if it came from numerous abundant narrators, meaning from numerous companions of the Prophet ﷺ, then we accept it. That's what they say. So we said, in regards to this, that we say in regards to what we talked about, right now we're going to lay down the correct creed. Ahlul Sunnah does not bring these type of taqsimat, these type of categories that was brung by the Asha'ira from the deviant sects. Firstly, number one, we were not the ones that started these categories. The only reason why you'll find that the ulama from the past, that they used to mention these categories, is because they started it and Ahlul Sunnah had to defend the truth. So they had to mention these categories in light of rebuttaling what they came with falsehood. Not because they started these categories, but because the people of falsehood started it and Ahlul Sunnah had to defend what was correct. So what they said, now Ahlul Sunnah, Ahlul Haqq, which is inshallah what we traverse upon, that we say that khabr al-wahid, or the chain of one narrator, or a chain of abundant narrators, we accept it, and it necessitates ilm, it necessitates surety, and al-ilm al-qat'i al-daruri. It necessitates knowledge that you have to work by. What's the reason? Why? Because we look at the study, or we study the chain, we scrutinize the chain of narrators. That's it. We scrutinize the chain, and we scrutinize the text. Meaning that we will never make a condition that it has to be more than one narrator, or it has to come from numerous chains of narrators. No. One chain in the narration of a hadith is enough. It suffices us. If all the conditions of authenticity has been fulfilled in the chain, that's all Ahlul Sunnah worry about. And we know that the conditions of hadith, as I talked about this maybe 5 months ago, are what? Are 5. For hadith to be authentic, we don't look to see, did more than one companion narrate the hadith or not? No, we don't say that. Did more than one companion, that's a condition. In order for us to accept it, for me to work and believe this hadith that you see here, they say it has to be more than one companion convey. More than one companion of the Prophet ﷺ had to convey it. That's the conditions of the Asha'ira. That's what they say. And the Mu'tazila. See, if it came from one narrator, one companion, we're not accepting it. It's speculation. It has some doubt in it. So based upon that, Ahlul Sunnah does not believe in this type of what? This type of nonsense here. Rather, we look at the chain of narrators. If it's one chain, we look at all the narrators. That's it. What we look at is the thubut of the hadith, the chain of whether or not it's authentic. We know what it was what? And we know the authenticity of a narration is built upon how many conditions, everyone? Khamsa. 5. Which is what, everyone? Ittisal al-sanad, adalat al-ruwah, ضبط al-sanad, ittisal al-sanad, which is the connection of the chain. Just put it there for a second. The connection of the chain, ittisal al-sanad, adalat al-ruwah, the narrators are all upright. عدالة الرواة. That the narrators had to be upright. And they have to have dabt, that precision. That precision. And it has to be, the chain has to be free of shudud wala illa. That the isnad has to be free of anything that's extremely weird and any hidden weaknesses. That's it. As it comes in the narration, as this is the reason why you should memorize as it comes in the poetry of Bayquniya. He says if you memorize this poetry, you'll have all the conditions memorized. As it says in the poetry by Bayquniya, as in Bayquni, it says, وَأَوَّلُ مِنْ أَقْسَامِ الْحَدِيثِ عِدَّةً وَكُلُّ وَاحِدٍ أَتَى وَحَدَّ أَوَّلَهُ الصَّحِيحُ وَهُوَ مَتَّصَلْ إِسْنَادُهُ لَمْ يُشَذَّ أَوْ يُعَلْ يَرْوِيهِ عَدْلٌ ضَابِطٌ عَنْ مِثْلِهِ معتمد في ضبطه ونقله والحسن الخفيف ضبطا إذ غدت رجاله لا كصحيح اشتهرت. As it says in the poetry. He says that he mentioned all the conditions of a hadith as far as in the isnad of it being authentic. Which it says, أولها الصحيح هو متصل. The isnad has to be connected. The chain and the narrators have to be connected. إسناده لم يشذ أو يعل. It cannot be shadh. I mean, it cannot be weird. Whereas it oppose the one who is more trustworthy, reliable, and stronger in his narration than the one who isn't, or more in number. That's the meaning of shadh. When a narration is shadh, that's a strong weakness in the chain. So the chain cannot have any shudud, cannot be weird, nor any hidden weaknesses, and all the narrators have to be upright. Adalatul ruwah. All the narrators have to be upright, meaning they have to be sound in their mu'taqad, meaning in their belief system. And they have to be sound in their belief system. Unless, like we said, we know that the scholars of hadith took narrations of the Prophet ﷺ from a person who was upon bid'ah, not from the past, not in these days and times. As far as this day is something different. In the past, they would take from those narrators that were not from the callers. They were from the common folk, from them. However, as long as they're bid'ah what they're upon, they're not called to lying or changing the narrations, then they took hadith from them. But as far as in these days and times, that's something different. Because all the narrations and the chains have been collected, so there's no need to take from bid'ah these days. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Because everything has been gathered and collected in all the books. So no one can try to utilize that shubha or that doubt by saying, see, the people from Ahl Sunnah took hadith from what? They wrote down hadith for the people of Ahl Bid'ah. That was with certain conditions, and that was a time where the chains and the narrations of the Prophet ﷺ had to be gathered. But now these days and times, everything with Allah alhamdulillah been gathered. We don't need to what? We don't need to look for now the certain narrators and trying to record hadith because they've been collected. So now you would try to utilize to say we could take from the people of Bid'ah these days and times. That's another type of what? Science. So we'll talk about, even though it's the same class. But anyway, all Ahlul Sunnah worry about, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, is whether or not the chain is authentic. And the conditions for a chain being authentic are 5. I'll say it again quickly. But this is not mustalah hadith. So we don't talk about hadith, we'll talk about Tawheed. I'm giving it to you quickly. Number 1, that chain has to be connected. Number 2, the narrators have to be udul. Udul meaning they have to be upright. They have to be upright. They have to be Muslim. They have to have, of course, sound aqidah, and there's some details in that. As far as the people of innovations in which some of Ahl Sunnah took hadith from, with certain extreme conditions. Then we said upright in the narrators. Also, likewise, they had to have what? Precision. Tamam al-dabt or khafif al-dabt. That they had to have what? They had to have precision in their narration. That was the third condition. Number 4, not having shudud, not having anything shadh. Shadh meaning something extremely strange that goes against those who are more trustworthy and reliable in their narrations than him, that he opposed them. And you'll find that there's 5 of narrators, for example, who's stronger in his memory than him, and he opposed his narration. That's called shadh, strange. And the 5th condition is al-khulu min al-ilal, that the isnad cannot have any hidden weaknesses in it. This was a science in which the sunnah, the ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ was protected. So all those conditions of a hadith has to be what? Fulfilled in order for us to accept the narration. And we'll talk about also what is connected to the metan likewise, even the text. That's also looked at and scrutinized, no doubt. So it's not only the chain, but also likewise the actual text, or the authentic text, the text itself, in which the chain is connected to. Like for example, in this book, what we're reading now, that's the text. Also, you'll find that the ulama of hadith, they used to scrutinize the text. Likewise. What I mean scrutinize it, meaning comparing it to make sure that the text is also authentic, because you will find there are certain chains. When there were evil people of the past, they used to take an authentic chain and connect it with a weak hadith. They used to connect it with a weak text. You understand, everyone? There were people that used to do those type of tricks. And when they lied, you'll find that anyone who plotted to try to alter the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, all were exposed. Every single last one of them. So anybody that tried to rip a chain off of one hadith and put it on another one, this science helped protect it. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? For any rate, Ahl Sunnah, that is what we look at. We look at the thubut of the hadith, whether or not it's been affirmed. As far as the fact whether or not it's been related by one sahabi, one companion, or a abundance of companions, that's not our that's not our affair. That's something that the Mu'tazila and the Sha'ira that they came with in order to cause doubt and accepting what was reportedly authentic upon the Prophet ﷺ. So what Ahl Sunnah, or Salafiyin, what they accept and what's important to them is a thubut, whether or not it's been authentically reported, no more, no less. As far as not a person say, has it been reported by one Sahaba or one Sahabi, or has it been reported by 2 or 3 or 5 or 20, that is not the affair of Ahl Sunnah. That's something that the Asha'ira came with in order to instill in the people doubt. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Tafaddal. Oh, he's calling you there. You guys have to go to the man. Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. Allah Akbar, Allah Akbar. Assalamu alaikum, assalamu alaikum. حول ولا قوة إلا بالله. طيب, so we said that Khabr al-Wahid, or the meaning of this category that the Asha'ira that they came with these type of categories in order to, like we said, cause confusion. That type of confusion that was caused was people who are affected by these type of corruptive beliefs and these ideologies. So for what we say, Ahlul Sunnah, that we affirm, if we affirm the chain of narrators that have been established, that they all have been fulfilled, these conditions that we just said, the 5, you'll find that the Asha'ira came with another doubt. So they just didn't stop there. They said, for example, Khabr al-Wahid, he says, it's not qat'iyyat al-thubut, and it's not what? It's dhanniyat al-dalala. So you'll find, like, for example, they say that just if it's reported by one sahabi, one companion, if it's reported by one companion, they say that it's not qat'iyyat al-thubut. They say that it's not been affirmed, its authenticity. We speculate it. We have doubt in that. What's so strange is, if you'll find on the opposite side of the spectrum, for example, that they only accept so-called that a hadith that's mutawatir. That's the second category that they mention. What's the meaning of mutawatir? Mutawatir meaning that it was reported by a number of a bundle or a group of sahaba. Meaning that 5 or 10 or 20 or 30. That's what they say. So they said in order for the hadith for us to accept it as being mutawatir, because that removes the doubt, so-called, as they say. So it's not speculation. You'll find that even these principles, they still didn't observe, nor did they apply those and stick to those principles. You'll find that they even contradicted that. If you guys are being distracted, I'll move Ali to another place. Because if your focus is thrown off, then a hadith as mutawatir is reported by numerous narrators. Some of the kids in here are looking confused. Don't worry, when I have a book of hadith, and I'll show you in the library how the religion was protected by the numerous chains of narrations, in which you'll find that is backed with every hadith that we see and what we quote is backed up by a chain of narrators. And all those narrators, like we said, the ulama came and scrutinized those narrators. They know the history of them, who they are, where they were born, what was their memory, what was their belief, and who they are, every single last one of them. And if some of them weren't known, then they looked inside of other narrations to support it, to make sure that it was authentic. If you study the science of hadith, it will shock you of how the religion was protected. But the chains is how the religion was protected. The chains of narrators is how Allah Ta'ala protected the religion from being changed. In contrast to Christianity, where they don't even have a chain. Everything is lost. So they just really sticking to something that's true speculation. And it's actually being affirmed that what they believe has been corrupted and changed and altered. But as far as in regards to the people, for the millat al-Islam, those who follow or tread the path of what is correct, then Allah Ta'ala from His signs that He's bestowed upon His ummah is that He's protected the religion and the authentic sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ by chains of narrators. So every hadith we quote, there's a chain behind it. If there's no chain behind it, we don't even look at it. We don't even take it. And if you study the science of hadith, you will know that this religion was protected by that science. Of the people of hadith, meaning the people who loved the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, came with in order to what? Make sure that it stayed in its purest form of how it was revealed. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So you'll find that the Asha'ira, that they came and they said that even though a hadith is mutawatir, that it has to reach that level for us to accept it. They came with something else. So not only did they come, they say khabr al-wahid, or the conveyment of one narrator is not enough. That's not adequate. Because they say it's dhanniyat thubut. I mean, it's speculation as far as its affirmation of it. Like we don't accept it because it's speculation. One narrator conveyed it. Then you'll find that you'll bring a hadith as mutawatir. They say, for example, in a bab, or the affair of aqidah and the affair of the belief system, we don't accept one narrator of the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If you bring now a chain or hadith that's mutawatir, and you give it to the Asha'ira, and if it opposes their aqidah, they now come with another excuse. So you say, okay, Asha'ira, here we have something mutawatir upon the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But you'll find that hadith opposes what they're upon. We don't accept that. Why don't you accept the Asha'ira? He says, because even though it's mutawatir, even though it's qat'iyyat thubut, we say it's dhanniyat dalala. We say it's, even though it's been affirmed as far as its affirmation in the chain, but it's still speculative as far as what it indicates. So they went from what? One misguidance to what? Another. He says, so then you say, طيب, now it's mutawatir. And now you find that it opposes what you're upon, of your belief system, you say now is what? It's not acceptable. Then you'll find that they went up another notch. Whereas now they gradually went up and set the bar higher as far as their misguidance. We'll find that they said, as far as the Quran itself, they said, al-adillat al-lafdhiyya kulluha dhanniyat al-dalala. You'll find that they even mentioned it said that all of the Quran, all of everything that's adillat al-lafdhiyya, that which was conveyed to us by words, meaning the Quran and Sunnah, all of it is speculative as far as what it indicates. Meaning that the Quran is doubtful, the Sunnah is doubtful, all of that's doubtful. The reason why I'm teaching you guys this is because this is dangerous. A person might say, we're not understanding right now, but eventually you will. Because I'm giving you something that is very, very corruptive as far as your belief system. For verily you'll find that there's no principle of the people of innovations except when they have now established for themselves some type of false principle, it's going to grow. What do I mean by that? For example, you know there's a deviant ideology of what they call ta'awun, or cooperation amongst all the different deviant sects. What they call it qa'idat al-ta'awun, or qa'idat al-adu al-dhahabiyya التي أسسها مؤسسها حسن البنا. ويسأل نتعاون فيما اتفقنا عليه ويعذر بعضنا بعضا فيما اختلفنا فيه. That's a قاعدة باطلة مردودة. You'll find that he mentioned and said, and this was the establishment of the deviant sect called the Muslim Brotherhood, where they believe this, they come up with this principle, where they say we agree or we cooperate of what we agree upon, and we what? We differ with each other. He says we cooperate of what we want. نتعاون فيما اتفقنا عليه. He says we come together and cooperate what we agree upon, and we excuse each other for that which we differ in. That principle, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, is a foundation in which they had laid down in their belief, meaning that all the Muslims comes together, whether or not they are upon something that is incorrect. It doesn't matter. Still bring them in. We're all Muslim. We all say la ilaha illallah, as they say, right? طيب. That principle that was utilized, which is dangerous, of course, in itself, because it now destroys, first of all, the principle of wala wal bara and al-amr bil ma'ruf and nahi an al-munkar. It destroys, firstly, the qaida of wala wal bara, number one. And هذه القاعدة التي أسسها حسن البنا يهدم الولاء والبراء ويهدم كذلك الأمر بالمعروف والنهي عن المنكر. يهدمهما كليا. That principle of believing that we come together, what we agree upon, and we excuse each other, what we differ in, that principle destroys wala wal bara. This principle destroys commanding the good, forbidding the evil. Destroys it. What's my point and how am I comparing this to what we're talking about now? Because this principle that's false, it expanded. So not only did they now include all the Muslims who are upon falsehood in one circle, in one melting pot, and cooperating with each other. This principle started to expand until now they started now saying that the non-Muslims are our brothers in the religion. So that's the reason. That's any principle that's batila, it will expand and expand and expand until it now will not stop. Because now, any false principle that opposes the correct belief system, know for sure that there's no way that you can go abide by that principle, except that if it expands and expands, like we said, then it's now going to get worse and worse, and you're going to start falling into other and creeping into other type of what? Deviance. And that's what you see, that type of principle. And the same thing happened with the Asha'ira. The Asha'ira came with a false principle. That false principle, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, is number one, is that they say that we do not accept the narrations of one narrator, which is what? Which is unacceptable. Like we said, Ahlul Sunnah only look at the what, everyone? They look at the chain of whether or not the conditions of sihha, of authenticity, has been fulfilled in that chain. No more, no less. They do not break down the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ into categories, such as it has to be what? It has to be. If it's one narrator from one narrator, it's rejected. And if it's narrated from numerous narrators, we accept it. So when they brought that category, notice it didn't just stop there. Notice it expanded. That's what we said. Any principle that's false is going to what? It's going to get bigger. Bigger and bigger and bigger until it goes off to other deviants. So notice, like we said, they started off that way. Oh, no. We don't accept in that aspect of Aqidah, Khabr al-Wahid. We don't accept in that aspect of Aqidah the narrator of one companion. It's rejected. We don't accept it. So then you tell them now, now it's mutawatir. However, it poses what they're upon. Meaning, for example, that hadith affirms that Allah is above, or that Allah Ta'ala truly speaks with a voice, to the end of it. No, we don't accept that either. Well, now what's the problem? Oh, because that text is speculative as far as what it indicates. It still doesn't give us surety that we have to accept it. So then after that, they just didn't stop there. They went another level, a third degree above that. They raised the bar. What's the bar that they raised it to? Until they now came to the end where they said, كُلَّ الْأَدِلَّةِ اللَّفْظِيَّةِ تُفِيدُ الظَّنِّ ظَنِّيَّةُ الدَّلَالَةِ. All the different texts, that's words, whether it be from Allah Ta'ala or the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, all of it is speculative. We don't accept it, it's rejected. So it went from one type of batil, up the ladder, then up the ladder, then up the ladder, until what? Until now it just became something of total, absolute disaster. From one type of discrepancy until it came into what? An absolute atrocity. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Is it clear what I'm saying so far? I'm saying that is because this type of nonsense the people of falsehood will come with, and the reason why I have to speak about this is because these type of principles causes shak, causes doubt. It causes doubt, and it will instill doubt in you of what you're upon of the truth. So know that these, like we said, these type of categories was what? Was brought initially from the people philosophy, and it was incorporated in the religion. And the A'da al-Islam or A'da al-Sunnah, they came with these taqsimat, they came with these categories in order to what? Instill doubt in the Muslims so they can deviate away from the truth. Is it clear what I'm saying? They came with these categories to instill doubt in the Muslims. جاءوا بهذه التقسيمات لكي يغرسوا الشك في المسلمين. خبر الواحد أو التواتر أو جاء عن طريق التواتر. إذا جاء عن طريق التواتر نقبله، وإذا كان عن طريق خبر الواحد نرفضه ولا نقبله. هذه قاعدة باطلة. That's a قاعدة that's what? Absolute false. I'm saying this is very important that you understand this point. What is the belief system of Ahlul Sunnah? Of the Ahlul Haqq, or Salafiyin? What is it? Whether or not the narration is by one narrator, or it's by numerous narrators, only thing we look at is what, everyone? Is the chain. Whether or not all the conditions of authenticity has been what? Fulfilled. That's it. No more, no less. Doesn't matter if it was authentically reported by one narrator, or if it was authentically reported by 10 narrators or 20 narrators. Whether it came from Khabr al-Wahid or if it came from Khabr al-Tawatur, it does not matter. We still accept it, and we don't have any reluctancy in accepting it. Like we said, the Prophet ﷺ, he sent Mu'adh ibn Jabal alone by himself to Al-Yemen. One individual to teach the people La ilaha illallah by himself. One narrator. And if it didn't suffice, don't you think it's something that's the greatest of knowledge, which is the Aqidah, and which is the belief system and the fundamentals of Islam. The Prophet ﷺ said one person, and what we're teaching now, which is the greatest of all knowledge, And despite of that, the Messenger of Allah ﷺ sent how many narrators, everyone? One. To teach the greatest of knowledge. If you think now, like we said, if it was not enough, don't you think he would have sent along with him someone else? Now, you need about 5 people. Because you're going to talk about Aqidah. You're going to talk about the unseen. You're going to talk about the day of resurrection. You're going to talk about affairs that are very sacred in the religion. No, Mu'adh, you need about 5 more people with you. The Prophet, did he say that? No, he didn't. Except that he sent only who? How many narrators? One. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So that's the reason why we say that this narration here, that you read in your books, it doesn't matter whether it's Khabr al-Wahid or Khabr al-Tawatur, whether it came from one narrator or it came from numerous narrators. Only thing we look at is the chain. And the chain, like we said, with the conditions, that is what, everyone? Look at the authenticity of it. Was what? Connection of the chain, or uprightness of the narrators, or precision in the narration, or free from weakness or hidden weakness, and shudooth. Shudooth, the affairs that they say like it's extremely weird. Shudooth. So it's ittisal al-sanad, adalat al-ruwah, تمام الضبط أو خفة الضبط أو ضبط الرواة وعدالة الرواة واتصال السند والخلو من الشذوذ والعلل. As it says in the narration, we said in the chain of the poet, what he says in his poetry, وذي أقسام الحديث عدة وكل واحد أتى وحده أوله الصحيح وهو ما اتصل إسناده لم يشذ شذوذ ولا يعل علل يرويه عدل ضابط عن مثله معتمد في ضبطه ونقله والحسن الخفيف ضبطا إذ غلط رجاله لا كصحيح اشتهرت. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? It said all 5 of those conditions in that poetry. Right there. That's all Ahlul Sunnah look at. They look at the chain and they look at the text. That's it. They do never look at whether or not it was related by one Sahabi or not. It's not what they look at. Whether or not it's been authentically reported by 1 or 5 or 10, that is not our shet. That's not our affair. Our affair is whether or not all the conditions of thubut, of it being affirmed, has been what? Fulfilled. That's it. No more, no less. If you understand that point, we can move on. Is it clear what I'm saying? All right, then we got to stop. So like we said, the Sha'ira likewise don't say they don't reject this. They reject this because they say it's what? It's related by one Sahabi. لا يكفي كما يقولون يزعمون على حد زعمهم. أن هذا من خبر الواحد وبالتالي لا نقبله. هذا يفيد الشك والظن. He said that's from one narrator, and for that reason, it necessitates what? Conjecture or speculation. We're not accepting it. It's doubtful. That's absolute nonsense. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Khabr al-Wahid, if it's been affirmed, the isnad has been affirmed, it necessitates al-ilm al-qat'i al-daruri. It necessitates knowledge that is what? That is definite. You have to work by it. You have to. And the rejection of the authentic report of the Messenger of Allah is dangerous. To reject it. As we know, Allah Ta'ala has threatened a punishment for now, a person rejecting something that's been authentically reported upon our Prophet As Allah Ta'ala says in his book, فَلْيَحْذَرِ الَّذِينَ يُخَالِفُونَ عَنْ أَمْرِهِ أَن تُصِيبَهُمْ فِتْنَةٌ أَوْ يُصِيبَهُمْ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. He says, let those who oppose the command of the Prophet beware lest some trial befall them or some severe torment befall them. To reject the narration of the Prophet ﷺ is not an easy affair. Ya ma'ashar al-ikhwa, that's something that's dangerous. That something can happen to you. Is it clear what I'm saying? Something evil can happen to you. Or something that might be caused as a humiliation. As people who rejected the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ based upon their minds, you'll find athar of the salaf where they said that Allah Ta'ala hastened for them the punishment in this world. Hastened for them humiliation and punishment. In our one narration, you'll find that a person who made mockery of the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, where he fall off his steed or his riding beast and cracked his leg. Or you'll find that, for example, where they rejected the sunnah that Allah Ta'ala caused a snake to follow them and chase after them. You'll find that there's narrations where people humiliated, disgrace, where they made mockery and rejection of the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ in every narration you'll find that Allah hastened for them the punishment in this world. So rejecting the sunnah is not something that's small, ya ma'ashar al-ikhwa. It's something major. And it can necessitate deviation. As even Al-Imam Ahmed said about that ayah, he says, أَتَدْرِي مَا الْفِتْنَةِ He said, فَلَعَلَّهُ رَدْ بَعْضَ مَا صَحَ عِنِ النَّبِيِّ صلى الله عليه وسلم فَيَقَعْ فِي قَلْبِهِ زَيْغ فَيَهْلِكْ. He says, as Imam Ahmed says, أَتَدْرِي مَا الْفِتْنَةِ فَلَعَلَّهُ يَرُدْ بَعْضَ مَا صَحَ عِنْهُ وَبَعْضَ ما قاله النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فيقع في قلبه زيغ فيهلك. He says, you know what a fitna is in this ayah? He said, for maybe perhaps you just refute some. He said, just a little part of the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He says, a deviance will creep in his heart, he'll be destroyed. Any questions about the lesson? Anyone? تفضل AbdurRazzaaq. The Mu'tazila. They absolutely. They're the one that came with this principle. So I know some of the people over line, they probably say, what are you talking about this? Because a lot of the Muslims believe this. Nonsense. And I've heard it in Philadelphia. There's people to this day that say this to this day. We don't accept it. That's khabr wahid. It's rejected. This hadith has been affirmed that the Prophet ﷺ has affirmed that Allah is above. Oh, we don't accept that. It's khabr wahid. That's been narrated by one sahabi. We're not taking that. That's speculative. That might be conjecture. That might be a mistake in that. So we're not accepting that. Anything that's in the aspect of aqeedah, they make these type of stipulations. There has to be more than one narrator. There has to be numerous narrators, which is absolute nonsense. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Even though it's authentic. It opposes their intellect and opposes what they're upon in their principles. So that's why they reject it. That's the ultimate reason why they reject it. That other stuff is just a smokescreen. It's just a smokescreen to hide truly behind what they really believe. But all these principles are just what they call dharrul ar-rumad fil a'yun. Just to throw dust in your eyes as a smokescreen. Hiding truly behind it something else of what they truly believe. Anything else about the lesson? Kaden, where's your book? Why is it behind there? And why is it on the floor? Anything else? Anything about the lesson? Anything about the lesson? Zakaria, do you understand? Just keep coming. Anything else about the lesson? Tafadhal, Jamal. Briefly, it gets deeper than that, way deeper than that. It's just brief. It gets way deeper than that. Anything else, brothers? طيب هذا وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. I didn't even want to talk about that today.